Evelyn Harper had always been the quiet strength of her small family, a woman whose life was etched into the walls of her modest two-bedroom home in upstate New York. At 68, her silver hair framed a face lined with both laughter and loss, a testament to decades of resilience. The living room, bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon sunlight streaming through lace curtains, was a gallery of memories. Faded photographs adorned the walls, black and white images of her late husband, George in his army uniform, a young Evelyn in a floral dress on their wedding day, and Sophia, her granddaughter, at every stage of growth from a chubby toddler to a poised teenager. These pictures were more than decor. They were the heartbeat of Evelyn's world, a world she'd built around the child she'd raised after her daughter, Margaret, succumbed to illness when Sophia was just 5. Evelyn's life had been one of sacrifice. After George's passing 10 years ago, she'd turned her attention fully to Sophia, the last link to her daughter. She'd worked tirelessly, first as a librarian, then as a part-time seamstress, scrimping and saving to give Sophia every opportunity she'd never had. Over the years, Evelyn poured $25,000 into Sophia's life, college tuition at a state university, stylish clothes to boost her confidence, and a cherry red sedan to ease her commute. Every penny was a labor of love, a down payment on the future Evelyn envisioned. Dancing at Sophia's wedding, surrounded by a family she'd helped create, her sacrifices repaid with hugs and gratitude. She'd even started a small savings account for a wedding gift, dreaming of a day when Sophia would walk down the aisle in a dress Evelyn would sew herself. But Sophia, now 24, had carved a different path. One crisp October morning in 2025, Evelyn woke to a notification ping on her phone. Bleary-eyed, she scrolled through her social media feed, expecting the usual updates from her book club friends. Instead, she found a flood of posts from Sophia's account, stunning images of her granddaughter in a flowing white dress, standing beside a handsome young man with a wide grin. The captions read, "Eloped with my soulmate, Liam. So grateful for my inner circle who made this day perfect." The photos showed a small, intimate ceremony by a lake, with friends laughing and toasting, but not a single familiar face from Evelyn's world. No invitation had come, no call to share the news. The omission hit like a physical blow, each image a silent rejection of the years Evelyn had devoted to Sophia's happiness. Evelyn sat on her worn velvet armchair, the phone trembling in her hands. Her chest tightened as tears welled up, but she swallowed them back, clinging to hope. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Sophia would call, explain, apologize. She waited all day, the house silent except for the tick of the grandfather clock George had restored. By evening, when no call came, Evelyn dialed Sophia's number. The voice that answered was curt, almost dismissive. "Gran, I didn't think you'd want to come." It was a spontaneous thing. "We're happy, okay?" Before Evelyn could respond, the line went dead. The next day, the same. Their monthly lunches at the corner diner, where they'd shared stories over grilled cheese and tomato soup, vanished into memory. Sophia's silence was a wall Evelyn couldn't breach. The final straw came when Evelyn, her savings dwindling to a few $1,000s, decided to stop the monthly checks she'd been sending, $500 a month to help with Sophia's rent and expenses. It wasn't easy. Every check had been written with a prayer for Sophia's future, but at 68, Evelyn needed to think of her own security. She sent a gentle email explaining her decision, hoping for understanding. Instead, Sophia's reply was a cold, "Fine, but don't expect me to visit anymore." The words stung, but Evelyn steeled herself. She'd given enough. Weeks later, a legal envelope arrived, its official seal a stark contrast to the cozy clutter of her home. Inside was a petition from Sophia and Liam, claiming Evelyn was senile and incapable of managing her affairs. They sought guardianship over her finances, arguing she'd lost touch with reality. The accusation was a gut punch. Evelyn, who balanced her budget with meticulous care, volunteered at the library twice a week, and still drove herself to the grocery store, was anything but frail. But the betrayal ran deeper. Her own granddaughter, the child she'd raised, was turning on her. The petition hinted at Sophia's motive, Evelyn's modest savings, now a target for a couple drowning in student loans and wedding costs. Evelyn refused to crumble. She contacted Margaret Klein, a no-nonsense lawyer in her 50s, who specialized in elder law and had a reputation for fierce advocacy. Margaret's office, a tidy space with law books lining the walls, became Evelyn's war room. Together, they assembled a defense. Bank records tracing every dollar given to Sophia, emails showing Evelyn's clear-headed correspondence, and affidavits from friends who vouched for her vitality. Margaret's strategy was simple but ruthless. Expose the greed behind Sophia and Liam's claims. The courtroom, a grand room with high ceilings and polished wood, felt alien to Evelyn as she took the stand on a chilly November morning. Sophia and Liam sat across from her, their lawyer, a young man with a slick tie, arguing that Evelyn's decision to stop the checks proved her instability. Sophia avoided Evelyn's gaze, her face a mask of rehearsed concern. Liam, fidgeting with his wedding band, whispered to their lawyer. Evelyn's hands trembled as she handed over her evidence, but her voice was steady. "I raised her after her mother died," she said, her eyes meeting the judge's. "I gave her everything I had. This isn't about my health. It's about their need for money." Margaret presented the bank records, a ledger of love turned into a legal weapon. The judge, a stern woman with graying hair and a reputation for fairness, listened intently. Sophia's lawyer countered with vague claims of Evelyn's erratic behavior, but the evidence, Evelyn's meticulous notes, her volunteer schedule, her doctor's letter confirming her mental acuity, told a different story. The turning point came when Margaret called Mrs. Henderson, Evelyn's neighbor of 20 years, who testified, "Evelyn's the sharpest person I know. She's been a rock for this community." The judge's gavel fell after a tense hour, ruling in Evelyn's favor. The guardianship petition was dismissed, and Sophia was ordered to pay Evelyn's legal fees. As Evelyn left the courtroom, Sophia's glare followed her, but Evelyn felt a weight lift. The victory was bittersweet. Evelyn returned home to an empty house, the silence now a companion rather than a burden. She grieved the granddaughter she'd lost to selfishness, but she refused to let pain define her. At 68, she chose to reclaim her life. She cashed in a small life insurance policy George had left, booking a solo trip to Europe. In Paris, she rented a tiny apartment overlooking the Seine, sketching sunsets with pencils she'd bought from a street vendor. The vibrant oranges and purples of the sky mirrored the renewal she felt, each stroke a defiance of her past. In Florence, she wandered the Uffizi Gallery, marveling at Botticelli's colors, a luxury she'd never afforded herself before. In Venice, she rode a gondola, laughing at the absurdity of it all at her age. Back in New York, Evelyn transformed her living room into a studio, her canvases blooming with sunsets and landscapes. She joined a senior center, teaching painting classes to a group of eager learners. The room buzzed with chatter as she guided trembling hands to mix colors, her own confidence growing with each session. "It's never too late," she'd say, her smile warming the space. Her students, widows, retirees, a former teacher, became her new family, their stories weaving into hers. Sophia's social media posts trickled in, photos of lavish dinners, exotic trips, funded Evelyn suspected by loans or worse. But Evelyn didn't dwell on it. She danced alone in her living room to George's old jazz records, the rhythm lifting her spirits. She wrote letters to her students, sharing tips and encouragement, and received replies filled with gratitude. Her savings grew modestly, bolstered by a small pension and the occasional sale of a painting at the local market. One spring day, as cherry blossoms painted the town pink, Evelyn stood before a new canvas, brush in hand. The judge's ruling, Sophia's betrayal, the quiet nights, they'd all shaped her, but they didn't own her. At 68, Evelyn Harper had found redemption not in others' approval, but in the life she'd dared to claim. The sunset she painted that day was her brightest yet, a promise to herself that it was never too late to start again.